The title of Chapter 6 of David I. Smith's book shares the same name as the book, Learning from the Stranger. The overall theme of this chapter is that intercultural learning with the stranger involves understanding differences, listening, comprehending, responding with genuine interest, acting authentically, and expressing love in our interactions with these individuals. In essence, being a blessing to the stranger. Through these actions, we draw closer to God by being obedient and demonstrating the love that Jesus had for us by his human death on the cross. There was much that I agreed with in this chapter, including that through loving of our neighbor, we are transformed to be more in the likeness of Christ. As through love, we shed our biases, prejudices, and fears. I agree that we as humans take for granted simple things like words, descriptions, sayings, expressions, or physical gestures that can be very confusing for people who are from different cultures. When these strangers show they don't understand, or they introduce a custom normal to them that we don't understand, judgment can quickly enter our reality, which interferes with us being loving toward these strangers. The author suggests that we can do some simple research that can help us to make us aware of cultural norms in another culture. This can help us to assimilate faster or keep us from being embarrassed. Bashir Mahoubi in 2008 discusses how knowing a bit about the cultures with which we interact can help us prosper in our interactions and business dealings and keep us from committing a cultural faux pas. For instance, he identifies that in Western countries and China, lateness is seen as being rude, while in Latin America and Middle Eastern countries, patience is the valued reaction, not punctuality. David I. Smith spends an inordinate amount of time discussing the importance of learning the language of a culture with which we desire to interact. I do agree with his sentiment, however, I feel he over-focused on this fact in his text, making it seem like intercultural awareness requires our learning to speak the language of other cultures. I agreed with the author's sentiment that when we encounter things that are foreign to us, we either try to grasp too quickly at things that appear to be similar to our understanding, or we try to interpret them in terms that we understand, often finding that we fail to grasp reality. I feel this second example is exactly the issue that humankind has in trying to understand an infinite God. We have no human way to understand infinity, omnipotence, omniscience, or omnipresence. Or it reminds me of the old allegory of the blindfolded men trying to describe an elephant when only touching one part of it. The one touching the trunk describes an elephant as a big snake. The one touching a leg describes an elephant as a tree. The one touching the tail describes an elephant as a rope, and the one touching the elephant's side describes it as being like a large wall. In essence, they pull their experiences into framing out a meaning of something they don't understand. One area I found contradictory of the author in this chapter is that at one moment he suggests we research to understand a stranger culture so that we can better interact. But then he discounts a story of an individual who does research about tipping, stating that we should not rely too much on our research. It is difficult to know which he prefers other than the warning not to put too much stock in our advanced preparation. Where I think the author does a good job in this chapter is his discussions of humility and hospitality, and that we as Christians must strive to demonstrate these attitudes as a reflection of Christ's love for us. Attentiveness and hearing go hand in hand with humility and hospitality in showing love to the stranger. Another area of disagreement I have with the author is that throughout the book he offers anecdotal stories about situations that are opportunities to show a stranger love. The issue lies in which stranger wins. For instance, in this chapter he describes a tutoring situation that involves a professor and a student. During the tutoring sessions, the professor forms a negative opinion about the student based on the way he smells, due to a lack of deodorant, mouthwash, and aftershave. The professor is surprised to learn that the student feels that the professor's use of these products is off-putting himself. My question is, what happens if the next student that he tutors appreciates the professor's use of hygiene products? Meaning that if he had not, it would have been off-putting to that next student. So it makes me wonder which student wins. I did love how the author ended this chapter in talking about the concept of an embrace and how that describes the way in which we should approach intercultural strangers. He aligns it with the way Christ invites us into a relationship with him. It reminded me of the story from Matthew 15:21 through 28, when the Syro-Phoenician woman asks for Christ to remove a demon from her daughter, and Jesus tells her he will not, and even indicates it is not right to take food from the children and toss it to the dogs. The woman responds that even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the table. To this, Jesus declares a woman of great faith and heals her daughter. To me, this story represents Jesus' invitation to everyone, not just the chosen people of Israel, to take his invitation and his embrace and to follow him. Intercultural invitations are available to all of us if we are simply willing to act with humility, hospitality, attentiveness, and hearing. Thank you.